In our last video, we finished Section 3 of the EMHT. We ended up spending the night out at Camp Clipper, the old World War II abandoned air base. And then me and John Marnell took off onto Section 4 of the EMHT. We started out in the Paiute Wilderness, crossing several different little mountain ranges and making our way out into the vastness of the desert where we got to Mailbox 4. We said our names, checked out who had been on the trail previous, and then got going again across the desert. From there, we drove for several hours up into the Old Woman Mountains and the Turtle Mountains before getting on the hardest section of the EMHT, the Boulder Road. Both of our trucks did pretty well through there, but at the end, I ended up getting turtled and John had to pull me out. No worse for wear. We talked a little bit about that. We went to sleep, woke up, and this is where we start today. Hey guys, and welcome back to Tremor Trails. If you've been following along, we've been doing a video series on the EMHT, and today is the final day. A little bit of bittersweet getting off of the trail. We are on Section 4. If you're just starting to watch these videos, the EMHT is over 660 miles of a wheeling, overlanding kind of epic adventure that you can do out here in the middle of the Mojave Preserve. Today we're going to head towards the very, very east corner of the preserve, all the way towards Lake Havasu, Arizona, and then we're going to shoot up on our final destination over to Needles. Just a year ago, we had started way over there, and we're actually going to get back to that spot today. Yesterday was quite a grind for us. We actually went through the hardest section of the EMHT, which is a lava field. It's a boulder field of 14 miles. Did end up getting turtled. That was good. If you didn't see that video, it was the previous video. Go watch that one. Today, we're not expecting as technical of wheeling. We still got several washes that we got to get through and some other stuff, but I don't think it's going to be as technical. But then again, it is the EMHT. Sit back, follow along as we finish up the final leg of the final section of the EMHT. Getting almost all the way through the Boulder Road the night prior, we only had a few miles before we'd make it back to pavement. And this is where John was going to leave us. He had other arrangements that he needed to get to, and he had been out on the trail with us for 2 days. So we were able to make up a little bit of time through some of these washes, and this section of the road was nothing compared to what it was yesterday. And I appreciated that, seeing how it was the first thing we did this morning. All right, guys, so we've traveled only 6-7 miles or so. We lost a camera on the way, too. We had to go backtrack that. The clouds are terrible for filming today. It's like a gray, gloomy day. But right here, we're on the Needles Freeway, and the EMHT actually crosses the Needles Freeway 2 times. We're going to end up crossing it later today, but unfortunately, this is where we're going to lose John. If this is your first video watching, John Marnell is a huge part of the EMHT. He is one of the 3 guys responsible for remapping it. You had Billy Crease, you had Bill, and then you had Mr. John that hung out with us for the past couple of days doing this final section. It was a good time. But from here, he's going to head on back home, and we're going to continue on the EMHT to get the final last little leg finished up. I'm going to do a separate video, just a campfire conversation that we had with him. There's so much interesting stuff out here, and the way that this whole massive trail came together. Well, it was a blast. Thanks for coming along with us.
Well, thanks for having me, TJ. I'll tell you, we had a great trip. This is probably the most fun segment I've done. In this trip with the new routing, the supplements, it made it more interesting for sure. The
one thing was his buddies were teasing him because he never did this little section. So now he can go home and tell all his buddies that he's done the little remapped out section.
Yep, did the Rocky Road.
The Rocky Road.
It was fun.
Obviously. All right, we'll do it again.
All right, thank you.
All right, nonetheless, we're going to jump up on the trail, leave John behind, and we will catch up with you at the next stop. A little bittersweet leaving John behind. This was the first trip that I ever met John face to face, and these 2 days out here I learned so much from him. You know how people just kind of leave an impression on you? That's what John was, and I look forward to hopefully getting out on some other trails with him in the future. This little leg of Section 4 from Needles over towards Lake Havasu was really a beautiful drive. The trail was kind of fun. It had a lot of whoop-de-woos, had a few little washes that you had to navigate, but nothing extreme. Really made for a pleasant morning, just kind of driving through the foothills as we made our way towards the Whipple Mountains. maybe one of the reasons I'm so gun-ho about the East Mojave Heritage Trail is that every leg, every section has something different to look at. The terrain is constantly changing through these 700 miles that you drive, and that's what makes this trail so enjoyable. Not only is it a challenge in certain spots, but you always have something kind of different to check out and look at. And I think that's why the word diversity just makes so much sense for this trail. Okay guys, so it's been probably 45 to an hour since we left John back there at Needles Highway, and we are standing now at the Gold Hill Mine. Up here it looks like this was the actual trommel, and this is where they would put the deposits in, and they probably had a super long sluice that came down this hill into this creek behind the camera. For somebody to be out here, we're out smack dab in the middle of nothing. Beautiful scenery, obviously, but there is nothing out here. Lake Havasu is probably the closest city to us, and it's probably another, I'm gonna guesstimate 20 miles directly behind my back. The trail has been very pleasant. I've enjoyed it. You're getting kind of down in some washes and a few little steep spots here and there, but it's fairly wide open, so it's kind of that fun driving. It looks like the sun's trying to burn off some of these clouds. Even with the haze everywhere, the scenery is gorgeous. And section 4 continues to be one of those sections that has really surprised us with how beautiful it is. All right, so from here, we're actually gonna go a little bit further east, and then we're gonna start tracking north along the Colorado River. We won't see the river proper. We're actually gonna be heading into the Whipple Mountains. I did a video about the Whipple Mountains a long time ago. It's one of my least watched videos, and it's actually one of my most favorite trails that I've ever done. So if you are curious, go check out the Whipple Mountains. That's where we're actually gonna end up. We're gonna hit the Whipple Mountains, and then from the Whipple Mountains, we go straight north up into the Sawtooth, not to be confused with the ones up in Idaho, which is going to take us to the final spot, which is a rock feature called Snaggletooth. Leaving the Gold Hill Mine behind, I started to recognize a few of the little mountains that we were heading towards. The whole reason that I discovered the EMHT was I was out doing the Whipple Mountain Trail and I saw something called the West Well. The West Well, where we're heading to next, is a place where all the Indians mark their petroglyphs for the West Well. The West Well is in the furthest east location of the Mojave, and this is where I saw on my map a trail called EMHT Section 4. After doing some research about this trail, I realized that this was a massive, crazy long trail and I wanted to go do it, hence how we got to where we are now. Hope you guys have enjoyed the series of seeing what this trail is all about. There's so many rewards out here. You could spend probably your whole life on this trail exploring the different things. Just a few more miles up and we got to the West Well to check out the petroglyphs and do the final leg of the EMHT. Okay guys, so we're at the furthest west terminal. We're at the West Well. I actually did a video, like I mentioned earlier in this video, about this actual structure right here. These are some old Indian petroglyphs that have been around since, gosh, the beginning of time, I guess. Something really interesting to note is that I didn't know this, but I learned this just recently. Anytime there are petroglyphs, like 9 out of 10 times, it's because there is water nearby, and this is the same exact thing. The Indians would come all the way through the Mojave as they were going towards LA or out into the stretches beyond, beyond the unknown, and they would mark where water was, and right here is the West Well. Man, it's not climbing Mount Everest, but it sure feels like it. Now that we're back to familiar territory, I know what lies ahead, but we're almost there. This has been a year in the making, getting the whole EMHT done, and me and the wife, we are tired, no doubt about it. That last section coming out of the Whipple Mountains, while it wasn't technical, it just beat the crud out of you. The washes were really, really bad, probably because of all the rains that they had last season. Nonetheless though, guys, we are at the final push, the final leg to get over to what is called Snaggletooth, which is this massive rock outcrop that just kind of shoots up out of the desert, and it's gorgeous. People have mountain climbed it for years and all this stuff, and that is our final stop to complete the EMHT route. So I'm really happy to be done with it. Well, I shouldn't say that yet because we're not done, but I can see the end in sight. All right, here we go.
Leaving the well behind, I couldn't help but just reflect on what a journey this had been for us. The EMHT is just full of treasures. Of course, when we first started this, we didn't have a whole lot of seat time. I didn't know much about driving through washes. I can now safely say that I'm probably a pro at driving through washes. Of course, you had Goff's Schoolhouse and all the history around the Mojave Preserve that we learned. It seemed like every night we were camping in some different historical abandoned mine. The never-ending history of the failed railroads out here that were so important back in the day. That time we got stuck in that crazy rainstorm trying to find Mailbox 1 in the desert where it never rains. Of course, all the different ghost mines, like this one where Virgil Earp had his hotel, but the town failed miserably after the gold deposits dried up. I couldn't think it'd get better than Section 1, but then we got to Section 2, and we got off on that massive, colossal mine, the massive gold mine that we checked out. Of course, coming back out of those mountains and driving down towards the TNT Railroad berm. Through the night, driving through the washes as well. Of course, all the different gear that got broke and sacrificed along the way, the abandoned cemeteries, the never-ending views. This place is just so ample in history. And of course, there were so many different adverse things that happened. We had to get across this crazy little canyon. We got stuck there at the interstate behind that gate. We had the Mojave Cross, Riley's place, all the history around him, the burnt up desert, the Cinedomes, where all of this stuff was made for Las Vegas Boulevard. And then the lava tubes. Oh my gosh, I was so excited about the lava tubes and getting to crawl through those things. That was so exciting at the end of Section 2. In Section 3, of course, we'd had Rocky Ridge, and we dropped straight down to the valley floor, and we followed all of the sand around the north side of the Kelso sand dunes out towards that old Mojave megaphone. From the Mojave megaphone, we went towards the Section 3 mailbox and the most traveled railroad line in America still to this day. We had Amboy, which beat us up for hours. That was one of the worst trails ever. The majestic Granite Pass and on the south side of the Kelso sand dunes. The full moon nights that we spent out there in the middle of the desert. All of the different mines that helped us win World War II. Crossing over ample amounts of different kind of mountain ranges. The Bonanza King mine, that was so cool. And of course, getting to meet John in person, learning all the history from him, you know, sharing stories in the middle of the night with each other, and just really embracing what the Mojave was all about. This place is special, guys, and while it sounds a little bit corny, trust me, if you get out here and experience this, you might have the same vibes that I had. But nonetheless, we made it to the end. We made it back to Snaggletooth, and we are so blessed to have been able to do this incredible journey. Remember, guys, life is short. Get out there on a trail somewhere and see what America has to offer.
All right, guys, well, we finally made it. We are here. We are at Snaggletooth. We finally accomplished the mighty, mighty EMHT. Now, in all fairness, there is a few more miles further to the north that takes you into the town of Needles, but we've already actually done that before, and so we're gonna get on the highway right here. So we're really not cheating. I keep waiting for somebody to show up with like a trophy or something, but there's nobody out here, just us. We started this thing over a year ago, and we decided that we wanted to tackle this and see what it was all about. And it was definitely worth the reward.
just being out in the preserve alone in that desert, really challenging yourself as a driver, challenging your equipment, and then having, you know, miles and miles of easy trails that just took you to some of the most scenic places out here that the Mojave has to offer, honestly. I had help from a lot of different people. Not only did I research tons and tons out here, but on top of that, obviously I became friends with John Marnell, and that guy knows everything about everything with the EMHT. I was able to watch a couple different videos about the EMHT. I couldn't have done it without Goff Schoolhouse. I couldn't have done it without John. And of course, I could not have done it without my wife. She's my partner. As you guys know, she doesn't like to get on camera much, but without her, we're a team. We could not have done this. I could not have done it. She's the one getting all the B-roll footage, and every time you see the truck go by, she's the one out there crawling on a mountaintop or a ditch or something. But we did it, guys. As far as reviews go, you know, this trail is everything from a 1 probably up to some level 6 obstacles, easily level 5 obstacles, so just plan accordingly. Even if you're not an experienced driver, by the time you get done with doing the EMHT, you're gonna be one. You know, just make sure that you have high clearance and you have great tires and you figure out all the fuel spots and all that. Either go to the Mojave Road, I'll put the website down right here, or just hit me up in the comments and I'll do my best to answer all those questions for you. But nonetheless, guys, thank you for following along on this whole series. The whole reason that we started this channel was because we wanted to go overlanding, and there was never trails that told me where all these cool places were. I'd see a lot of YouTubers and they'd show us what they were cooking, which is awesome, or they would just kind of show us a trail with some drone footage. And my whole goal with this channel has always been to show you the trail as best as I can. And of course, I put some music in there and kind of do some editing things. But the point is that if you're looking at the trail, you can see if you want to get out here and experience the trail yourself. And we just did 700 miles through some of the most beautiful terrain that North America has to offer. So get out on the trails, guys, and get out on the EMHT. Go experience what this is all about, because the camera's not going to do it justice. Thank you guys so much for following along. If you have any questions at all, please just hit me up in the comments. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you so that you can get out here and explore it. But they do a really good job of keeping the trail updated with the different flagpoles, and Onyx does a great job. And of course, if you get the booklets and the supplemental packs that go with the books, you're going to be set to get out here and explore this thing. Well, that was a long year, but we got it done. All right, guys, so until next time, we hope to see you sincerely out here on the trails. Bye.